And we are back. It is a spectacular day at WSIC Local Biz Now. You're listening to 105.9, 100.7 FM, 1400 AM. You know, I search the globe looking for the most unique and intriguing people. Every now and then, I stumble on one, and today is no exception. We have Jeff Hamm here. Jeff is the creator of the Best of Lake Norman podcast and Epic Journey Media. I'll tell you something. He had an article written about him in the Currents magazine. I read the article, and it was intriguing, and so, which I don't do very often. I then went to his website and found this super cool list of all of the different interviews he had done. It's called Best of LKN Podcast. Please go there. It is phenomenal. He's got about 59 podcasts, and the people he is interviewing are great, cool, exciting business people in the area. And so, you know, I do what I do best. I just called him and started picking on him and talked him into being on the radio show. Jeff, my friend, thank you so much for being here.
Joe, thanks so much for having me. It's just an honor to be here with the award-winning industry expert, Joe Vagnone.
Exactly. You see how good he is, Richard? See how he just made me look good, and you, on the other hand, let's don't talk about it.
I'm just keeping it real.
So Jeff, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you being here. We talked about 4 or 5 months ago.
We did.
It took you that long for us to be able to get you on the show. I don't know what it is about your podcast, but the way you are interviewing people and the questions you're asking keep me engaged, right? Like, do you have like this list that you're going by, or is it just come natural that you're asking these questions? Because I got to be honest with you, buddy, you seem like Whoop Blitzer out there, man. You're doing a good job of that.
Well, it doesn't come naturally. The questions are natural questions, but I do provide an outline for my guests ahead of time, and I follow pretty much the same outline for every episode. But no, public speaking, interviewing, not something that comes naturally to me. It's been a work in progress for sure.
And then that's what was intriguing for me when I first spoke with you. You said, "Hey, Joe, man, this is like a startup, man. I'm just getting started with this." And then you turned it into a business, correct? Talk about that.
I did, yeah. The podcasting came first as sort of a I like to call it an exercise in generosity. When things started shutting down in spring of 2020, I'd already been producing another podcast that I didn't have. It lacked a little bit of focus. I wasn't sure who my audience was for that podcast production. And when things began shutting down in spring of 2020, and a lot of my friends and acquaintances who are small business owners were suffering, and there was a lot of fear, it just came to me as an epiphany to start the Best of LKN podcast and feature these businesses, have conversations, share their stories, and I thought it would be a great way to promote their businesses. And I'm just really proud of the production. It's been a really great success.
And you just hit on you stumbled right where I wanted to go. And it's not just the way you're interviewing them, but it's the people you're getting. Mm-hmm. These are good quality, business owners that have great insight that you really do want to hear, these aren't just like people like Joe, right? These are good people. And so how are you getting these guests? Is it time consuming to catch up with them? How's that happening?
The process of booking guests can be time consuming. I started where the best place you can start with people you know. So the early businesses were businesses who I was acquainted with locally, and of course I say that, but the first guests were Mike and Kristen Ratnowski, the owners of CrossFit Cornelius, and I didn't know them. I reached out to them cold, and they were very generous. They were wonderful, wonderful people. They were very generous with their time, and it was a great way to launch the podcast. But since starting the production, I've had quite a few companies and local businesses and PR agencies reach out to me, which has been really it's just been such an honor to have them reach out to me and inquire about being guests on the podcast. So
yeah,
we put some love into the production. We put together a very clean, nice website. We write engaging show notes. I spend some time editing the audio. putting together professional intros and outros. I think the guests appreciate that.
Yeah, well, the end result is good. I like that because you kind of get to the point with the podcast. It keeps it moving, right? Mm-hmm. And for me, I love the way the website is set up because I can pick and choose what interests me. I can remember one of them, and I don't remember the name of the company, but they were some sort of a bottle refill water.
Boomerang water.
Yeah, and I loved that, and I love the story of something new and different and local, right? Mm-hmm. So that is what intrigued me about reaching out to you. So I picked up the phone and called you, and we started talking about it. And then you said, "Hey, Joe, I'm actually starting a business helping people do that, right?
Yeah.
Which is called Epic Journey Media." Do I got that right?
That's correct.
So let's talk a little bit about that, because now you're helping people put together what you have already done. And by the way, that is the way to do it. You perfected it. You know what needs to happen. Now you can teach people how to do that.
The business was inspired by some requests I received from guests on the podcast who wanted to produce something similar for their own businesses. And Epic Journey Media happened almost by accident when a guest had inquired about producing something similar for his business as a way of recruiting new talent, and it made a lot of sense. And then subsequently, I had another guest in a completely different industry inquire about doing something in his market, and it was really suddenly I had clients and I didn't have a business. So,
right.
So we scrambled. The production is a partnership with a dear friend. His name is Phil Deppen. He brings 25 years of web development and graphic design experience to our concept, and he does all the smart stuff. He brings a lot to the table. We're still trying to figure out what I bring to the table, but he's really couldn't make this happen without him. So I approached him about starting Epic Journey Media with me. I certainly couldn't do it without his talent and expertise, and he was all for it. He loved the idea and the concept, and it's been really exciting.
So, like when I go to your website, Epic Journey Media, I see that you have additional services as well, which is coaching and consulting on this, website design, email marketing, and blogs. And so, to me, I'm inspired by the way you put all this together, right? Because, matter of fact, I think I told you, Julie and I decided to start this whole maximize the value of your business tip program based on you inspiring us after I saw your website. And so I can see how a lot of people can get a lot of value on this stuff that you're putting together here.
I really appreciate that. And my commission, my percentages.
Absolutely. You know what? I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll make sure Julie sends you the bill on the percent of what that's costing.
All right, cool.
So let's talk a little bit. And Julie's got on the website, people can go to Epic Journey Media and also LKN Podcast. She's got both of those on Facebook Live, so you can pull those up. Great. What advice or sort of the start of advice would you give somebody thinking about starting a podcast? Because I got to be honest with you, it's like the number one thing I hear young kids saying out of college. And it's the number one disappointment I see because they want to start it and they don't realize there's no money. Sooner or later, you got to get somebody to write you a check, right, to sponsor this, right? And so I see them excited about it, and then I also see the disappointment when they don't know how to turn it into an actual business. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think to begin a podcast with the idea of monetizing it in that way, it might be the wrong mindset. You definitely want to start with the end in mind, but for a small business owner, and that's who I market these services to, the podcast production, would be small business owners and professional services firms. We see it as a great way to share your expertise, to grow your professional network, to connect with your ideal clients, and more importantly, your ideal referral partners. It's just a great way to engage with them.
So an add-on, a bolt-on, if you will, type of scenario is much better than trying to turn it into some type of a that makes sense to me, right? And that probably would just open up many industries that should be doing this. It's a way to be credible and show your experience and expertise.
Yeah, it's like having your own, literally having your own media platform. And we love it. We're big fans.
Okay, let's take a break and we'll come back and we'll talk some more. Founder and owner of Best of LKN Podcast. You got to go there. Jeff Hammond, he actually got this thing figured out. The website is phenomenal. Get ready, Richard. If it's Friday morning,
it's time to remember what we're supposed to say.
Oh, come on. Your business matters. We'll be right back. And we are back. You are listening to Local Biz Now. I am Joe Vagnone, and I am here with Richard Hammond. He is the Best of Lake Norman podcast founder and Epic Journey Media. I'm also here with my co-host, Richard Gould. He is the owner and founder of Richard Painting, and I appreciate both of them being here today. So, Jeff, let's back up for a minute, okay? How did you get here, buddy, right? Like, you didn't wake up one day and say, I think I'm going to do me a podcast. How did this happen?
Years of listening to podcasts and consuming podcasts.
So you're just an avid listener. You enjoy that.
Yeah, I sought out a lot of expertise, and I started another small service business back in 2012. So I've had my own small business. I've been self-employed for 9 years, and I began listening to podcasts about 4 years ago, seeking out marketing knowledge and small business expertise and advice, and just became, really fell in love with the platform and really fell in love with the medium and found it a really, really convenient way of consuming content.
So do you do that while you're on the computer doing something else? Do you do it while you're on your phone exercising? I mean, where do you listen to the podcast? Because I know I have my place. Do you have yours?
Yeah, so when traveling, driving, walking, my service-based business, I find myself behind tools for hours on end with nothing else I can do except listen to something. So I've replaced music with podcasting and audiobooks and that sort of thing.
I wonder how many people have done that. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Or at least ambitious people have done that, right? Okay, so we were talking off the air when Richard was making fun of me, right? And he was asking you a question off the air about the podcast and sort of the process of and the value of how do you compare it to other medias and that sort of stuff. I want to change that question just a little bit. And I see podcasting as kind of like a new age branding, right? I don't necessarily think someone's going to pick up the phone and call me because of the podcast, but it creates a branding scenario that gives credibility to wherever. Would you agree with that, or am I just off base with that?
No, absolutely. I think it provides another opportunity for potential clients or customers, depending on the industry you're in, to kind of get to know you. When you're listening to a podcast, you usually have earbuds in, and you're listening. The host is in your ear. It's a pretty intimate form of communication. So it's just a really great way to get to know a business or a small business owner or the people behind the business.
So how do you suggest once a client finishes a podcast, they send it out? What do they do with it? Okay, I sat down with you guys. I created 3 or 4 or 5 podcasts. Now what do I do with them?
Yeah, so your podcast is going to be distributed to all the major podcast networks, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. There are dozens of others that are smaller that actually pull from those platforms. But we recommend, and that's why Epic Journey Media also offers the web development service. Having a custom website is a great place for a home for your podcast, and which we also build blogs on top. We piggyback the podcast with a blog, a long-form written blog, which helps with SEO, which is another convenient way for people to consume your content.
That in itself is very unique, mm-hmm. that you are actually writing that up. That I can only imagine takes a lot of time.
It does. We also transcribe. We try to transcribe every episode. We're in the process of making that more consistent. Not only does the transcriptions help with SEO as well, Google loves transcriptions, but it also, more importantly, makes the audio podcast, accessible to everyone, including the hearing impaired. So transcriptions are also highly recommended for your
Caring, respectful guy. That's kind of disgusting.
Total
Making
package.
us all look bad. Yeah, he is. He's a total bad. Making us all look bad.
Well, that's pretty easy for you. But I'm just saying.
So Jeff, when I first went to your website, the way you had created the website was simplistic, right? It reminded me of the simple Google. Just type in what you're searching for. In your case, just click on the one that you want. You know, you had a photo of the owners, and then you had the PDF below of what you had written up. And where did that come from? Because it's so simplistic that it was very inspiring for me, and it's easy for a guy like me to pick and choose which one do I want to listen to.
Well, I'm a pretty simple guy, so I like simple. Simple is good, and my business partner is always saying, a confused mind always says no. So
Great statement. I
know,
love that statement.
I do too, and it makes a lot of sense. So we really focused on keeping the website clean, easy to navigate, uncluttered, and it's worked out really well so far.
So in this world of podcasting, right, do you find people coming to you for only business reasons, or are there other reasons that they're coming to you to do a podcast?
So far on the Epic Journey Media side, our potential clients have been mostly small business owners and pretty successful professional services firms have reached out to us as well, which is really exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing where those conversations take us. The Best of LKN podcast, where we feature conversations with highly successful small business owners, entrepreneurs, professionals in the Lake Norman area. We've also had the great privilege and honor of featuring some really wonderful and conscientious nonprofit organizations as well. So those are conversations we love to have as well. So, yeah.
So walk me. You kind of piqued my interest when you talk about service-related business. What's a podcast look like? Is it education on what they do, what they can do, what they should be doing? That's kind of interesting.
Well, I'm gonna.
Did I step into confidentiality here?
No, I'm going to share a little hack here.
Okay.
Small business owners and professional services firms have, for a long time, been members of business networking groups, community groups, where they meet for coffee and exchange referrals and so forth. I've been members of those groups. Very few of those groups have had attendees that were my ideal clients or referral partners over the years.
Right.
Some of our professional services clients on the Epic Journey Media side that we produce podcasts for use it as building their own professional network. So if they don't, it's a way to introduce themselves to their ideal clients and their ideal referral partners. If there's a local business that they really want to network with, they want to connect with, well, by being digital content producers and having this media platform, they have a platform to invite them onto, to promote them, to share their expertise. And now after that, they just take that connection and build on it, hopefully.
So I've been saying this for years. I've been doing this radio show for 8 years, right? And the one great thing about doing this radio show is if I call somebody, I get the return phone call, right? Yeah. So you're really saying the same thing. I mean, it does put you in front of people that otherwise they're not going to answer the call.
I've said this many times. I didn't start podcasting to get my foot in the door, but it's gotten my foot in the door.
Right.
And that email subject line, request for interview, gets opened almost 100% of the time.
Right. And I found that to be the case as well. So that alone is worth putting something together, because now you can start to make these contacts that otherwise you're probably not going to have happen.
Absolutely. And the Best of LKN podcast is a great example. There's just no way I would ever have the opportunity to meet so many of these really amazing business owners. and have these conversations if I didn't have this production, this platform to invite them onto.
Now, do they ask for that podcast so they can send it out? How do they see themselves getting value from that interview?
I'll be honest, most of the really successful business owners that I've featured on the podcast view it as a way of giving back. They're not really doing it to promote themselves, although it is a great way to promote themselves. I get that.
I understand that. Yeah.
But they really have this, they come at it from a perspective of generosity. They're giving back by being my guests on the podcast. And of course, we really, really appreciate it. And then the lesser known or lesser successful or the startups definitely use it as a way to promote their business and share it with their network and the public.
Which helps the LKN website as well.
Absolutely.
Because once they go there, they get a chance to do what I did, which is see all of them.
Yeah, we're really growing our listenership organically that way. Being shared personally, person to person. It's been
right.
Really...
Well, I want to be part of sharing for you, buddy. So I encourage people to go to the Best of Lake Norman podcast. It's wonderful. The way you interview is intriguing and inspiring, and the website is easy and simple to go to, my friend. I just can't thank you enough for making it, and keep doing it, buddy. I think it's great.
Joe, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
And I'm positive, I just know this, Julie's going to be calling you, wanting you to be co-host. I know it's going to happen. I'm almost, so just get ready for it, because I know it's coming, especially if Richard bombs. We might have you on sooner than later. Richard, my friend, thank you so much for being on the show today, buddy. I appreciate it.
Thanks for the confidence boost. I appreciate it. Can't wait to come back.
Anytime. That's what I do.
I'm feeling
Inspire, good. Motivate, entertain, and beat you down.
Can't wait.
Thanks, Jeff. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe.
Again, go to Best of Lake Norman podcast. It is phenomenal and epic journey media. If it's Friday morning, your business matters. We'll see you next week.